Welcome back to another amazing episode. This week we're reviewing our new retro games, Rebel Wars, an amazing action-adventure game for the ZX-Spectrum by Mananuk, and ROGUEish, the immersive roguelite by SyntaxErrorSoftware for Commodore 64. In our hardware review, we'll look into the Pseudo all-in-one cartridge for the SEGA Saturn, and all the conveniences it brings with it to help you run games from all regions, backups of your games, and even insert cheats to help you beat that big boss fight. Our ancient DOS Vault presents one of the most brilliant DOS games we've seen lately in the face of Neut Tower by Spindley Q Frog. In our Retrospect review, we bring out the red carpet to welcome its Royal Highness Wing Commander 2, a game that changed the way we looked at PCs back in the early 90s. Finally, we turn our gaze into the story of maybe the most tragically failed console of all time, the beloved Vectrex, in our history lesson. Fun times and great memories ahead, so let's roll! We begin this week's new retro games reviews with Rebel Wars, from one of our favorite retro creators, Mananuk. This is an action-adventure game for the ZX-Spectrum, set in the distant future, as we take on the role of an elite soldier that boards an enemy corvette and has to perform a series of missions. These missions vary from assassinations of high-ranked officers, explosive placement, surveillance, to hacking, hostage rescue missions, and many more. The game has a great variety of goals, and that keeps the gameplay fresh and addictive. The graphics are great, and the animation is just excellent. The enemy corvette is wonderfully designed and with great detail and colors, also with no color class effect. There is even an amazing intro to put you into the mood. The music is great, with tunes that fit the techno-action mood perfectly, and the sound effects will keep you in action. The controls won't give you any trouble, as they are pretty simple. The game's difficulty is just right, and will keep you challenged but never frustrated. No problems with the collision detection either, as it is just and accurate. There is a leveling up system enabling you to climb the ranks for each mission you complete successfully, and that gives you extra motivation. On to the rankings now, with the graphics getting a solid 9. The controls receive a 9.3. The music and sound effects get a 9. And the gameplay a 9.6. For a total of 9.2. And the title of the Game of the Week. An amazing and addictive action-adventure that will keep you playing for a long time. Our next review is of the game ROGUEish by SyntaxErrorSoftware for Commodore 64. This is an amazing roguelike game that will remind many of you of the Roguecraft game for the Amiga we reviewed during our summer episodes. The game is based on the classic Rogue recipe as you wander around the dungeons of a magical tower, trying to reach the top floor as the challenges are getting tougher and the enemies more dangerous. You get to choose between two different classes of a warrior and a ranger, with the obvious differences in their fighting style. The game uses a very simple control system that won't trouble you at all. The fighting is done with the bump system, like the East games, and you can move one block each turn, but so do your enemies, so an amount of strategy is required to get the upper hand in battle, especially in the higher floors, where the enemies are getting stronger. The graphics are well designed, and even though its sprite has only a single color, they are drawn and animated wonderfully. The sound effects are well made, but there is no in-game music, which is a shame given what the SID chip is capable of. The gameplay is simple, but perfectly balanced, and gets you hooked from the first few seconds. This is roguelike gaming at its finest. The graphics are awarded an 8.9. The controls a 9.5. The music and sound effects an 8. And the gameplay a 9.3, for a total of 8.9. A gem of an RPG for the Commodore 64 that you must not miss. Now, this is one of the weeks that we have a bonus game review, and what a bonus that is! Behold, a technical marvel, a fully playable version of Sonic the Hedgehog for the Amstrad CPC Plus range of computers. The game is a joint effort of Arnaud Stork, Cedric Coitier, Julien Neveu, Richard Gatineau, and Slipe. This is a fully playable, complete version of Sonic 1, and not only is it wonderful, but by all means it is a far superior to the SEGA Master System version at every level, proving what a behemoth of an 8-bit machine was the Amstrad Plus range of computers in the proper hands. The game has amazing graphics, fast, seamless scrolling, and even includes pseudo 3D bonus levels that must be seen to be believed. This is one of the most amazing retro indie efforts of this year, and we can't go wrong by awarding it a special 10. If you are a proud owner of an Amstrad CPC Plus, do not lose the chance to play this amazing conversion. And even if you don't own one, well, that's what emulators are for. Our hardware review this week brings you the Pseudo Saturn Kai All-in-One cartridge. Quite a long name, so let's call it Kai All-in-One from now on. This cartridge is a cheap and powerful solution to run your backups on SEGA Saturn without the risk of damaging it by installing an internal chipset solution. The cartridge is made of good quality plastic and it's nicely put together. You have on the back a quick note of the model you bought and its characteristics. We have here the version without an SD flash card reader, but the backup launcher and region-free enabler along with the action replay mode. We have a backup game to test, we load the CD, and we're good to go. Let's see it in action. For the purposes of this review, we begin with Die Hard Trilogy just to see the main functions. Now, as you can see, there is a variety of options available. Let's check out display settings that has everything you need to bring the menu to your liking. You get the background effects, the color theme. The loader menu gives you a wide choice of source choices, including RIA-FIBI and Fenrir, all of them optical drive emulators, of course, that you might have installed in your Saturn. And then, of course, is the standard CD drive, and you can choose the reset mode, or if the system will proceed to autoboot. You have the cheat enable menu that provides you with a series of cheat engines. Choosing it loads the enabled cheat machine and the appropriate cheats for the game in the drive. I did notice that when the cheats are enabled, sometimes the SEGA logo during the game startup gets distorted, but no other side effects appeared. There is a large database of almost every game that came out for Saturn, and you're good to go. The game loads up with no problems, no matter the region, or if it's a backup. As you can see, the game loaded up just fine, hassle-free, and with the option we enabled in the cheat engine on. Now, we'll change the game and we'll go to run croc to enable the cheats for a little test drive. Now you get to choose individual cheats by pressing X on the gamepad to enable them. Now, I should also inform you that there is an also very good hex code editor included for the more tech-savvy of you. Now let's enable a couple of cheats and see if it loads up correctly. There we go, the distorted logo again, but as you can see after that, the game loads up just fine, and you're ready to enjoy your Saturn gaming experience. Now once again, the game has loaded, the cheats are enabled, and there are no problems. There, no distorted effects any further in the game, no artifacts, and no other problems. Very well. Let's go to sum it up now. Now, Saturn is a truly underrated console, and this is an elegant and non-intrusive solution for your region-free and backup choices. It comes in an elegant box, and you can feel its good quality right from the start. There you go. It's a very sturdy made cartridge. Now, on the back of the box you can see the configuration you chose and the other options available, such as the SD card loader, the hard drive loader, and many more. It's easy to use, at low cost, and it truly comes with a lot of functions. It's one of the most cost-effective and elegant solutions for running region-free CDs and backups, and it gets a big thumbs up from us. Sometimes a great idea is enough to make a great game. That is what the Neut Tower by Spindley Q Frog proves. This amazing MS-DOS game for the PC does not have the best graphics or sound that you can find in a DOS game, but the gameplay is one of the finest puzzle ideas we've seen in the platform for years. The game comes in server form, with the full first episode playable and the rest to be ordered should you enjoy the game. You play as Jay, a programmer trapped in a skyscraper after an earthquake, along with your AI creation Neut. Your goal, of course, is to escape unscathed with Neut's assistance and rescue any other colleagues along the way. The main goal of the gameplay is separated in two sections. In one, you control Jay, who can open some doors with her access card. The rest, blocked by the system crash because of the earthquake, require Neut's assistance that you can get by directly controlling him through the building's network. Of course, in order for him to move around the network, you must activate various laptops found in each floor for him to use as gateways. Sounds simple, but trust us when we say that it builds the foundations for a devilishly smart and quite complex sometimes puzzle game. The goal of each stage, represented by a floor, is of course to reach the exit. You can even control other bots with different abilities using Neut, bringing even more variety to the puzzles and the game itself. The graphics, as we said earlier, are quite simple. Without saying that they're not pretty, they're just EGA days style, but have a certain charm on them. There is no in-game music, and the sound effects are simple but functional. The controls are perfect and easy to learn, as all you need are the directional buttons and the space button. We will give the graphics a 7. The controls get a fair 9. The music and sound effects a 6.7. The gameplay a 9.7. For a total of 8.1. Try Neut Tower today and you will get hooked immediately. We have royalty amongst us today in our Retrospect review. This is Wing Commander 2 by Origin Systems.
Rise, grandson.
This, along with its prequel, are considered by many to be the games that gave rise to the PC as the dominant platform and dethroned Amiga. The game has one of the most famous intros in the history of video games that still holds up today for its amazing animation and artful graphics.
It's true, sir.
Also, if you had the extra discs or the CD version, you got to enjoy full speech for the duration of the intro. One must realize that back in the early 90s, this stuff was amazing. The gameplay is the definition of dogfights in space. You control Captain Blair, wrongfully demoted from commander in the finale of the previous game, and you get sent to a backwater space station as punishment. But since you're the hero, the troubles follow you there and you end up taking on the Kilrathi Empire once again. The game can be controlled by joystick, mouse or keyboard, and the controls are very responsive. The enemy AI is still pretty good, giving you a hard time. Your goals in its mission are various, from babysitting convoys to taking out targets, even to performing daredevil attack missions behind enemy lines. You get to pilot a variety of ever more advanced starships armed with different weapon systems. The graphics, of course, are still amazing given the game's age, with great animation and a full 256 color palette that brings the Wing Commander universe to life. The music and sound effects are great, with action-filled tunes, lasers and explosions that intensify the battles. The game was the epitome of PC gaming for almost a decade, and if you are of a younger generation and didn't get the chance to enjoy it back in the day, we suggest you dive into it right away. The graphics are awarded a 9.5. The controls a 9. The music and sound effects a solid 9.4. And the gameplay a 9.6 for a total of 9.4. This game was solid gold back in the day, and still is an amazing experience that every gamer should enjoy. Sometimes you do everything right and it still goes wrong. This is the story of the most successful failed console in history. This is the story of Vectrex. Ask anyone in the retro community about Vectrex and you'll hear nothing but praise for the machine. But then, how come it failed so badly? Conceived back in the late 70s to early 80s by John Ross of Smith Engineering and boasted by the absolute support of J. Smith, founder of Smith Engineering, Vectrex was and still is to this day the first and only vector display-based desktop console ever released or even conceived. J. Smith was a big supporter of Vectrex and even had a hand in its design. After all, it was his vision that led to the creation of another first, the Microvision, the world's first portable console with interchangeable cartridges, and that was way back in 1979. The idea for the Vectrex was simple yet brilliant. By including in the system a vector-capable screen, not only you had what was at the time the most detailed and advanced graphics for those days, the vectors, but you also released the gamer and its family from the biggest torment concerning the battle for the TV set's usage. The system was also designed with the gamepad included and attached to the console with a sturdy yet prolonged cable. It came, of course, with its own sound system included, utilizing the 3-voiced AY38912 chipset. It all came in a wonderful black sturdy design at a reasonable price, considering what it offered, of $199, the equivalent of $650 today. The system was first unveiled at the 1982 CES, and it amazed the crowds. GCE, a subsidiary of Smith Engineering, was formed to handle the console. To be, it seemed that the system really took off to a good start. It didn't exactly light up the sky, but sales were rising and interest was peaking. Then something unexpected happened. The famous tabletop and toys company Milton Bradley approached GCE for a full buyout of the Vectrex, along with its rights and handling the product worldwide. It certainly had the muscle to do so, as Milton Bradley was at the time one of the world's biggest tabletop games manufacturers, going stronger every fiscal year. Milton Bradley wanted to enter the video game consoles market, as many other companies did at the time that were originally related with the toys industry, such as Mattel. A deal was finally struck between the two companies, and Milton Bradley started immediately an incredibly aggressive and wide advertising campaign. It took the Vectrex head-on against the other companies' products, and especially Atari's, that was the leader of the industry at the time. This proved to be a costly tactic, as the commercials went as far as the infamous "You Bet Your Asteroids" TV commercial that, after a pre-legal action, forced Milton Bradley to refilm it with a different punchline. But Milton Bradley was not about to stop there. It proceeded to launch the console both in Europe and Japan in an attempt to grab any corner of the world that Atari and its rivals hadn't conquered yet. The Japanese launch, though, can only be described as a tragedy. Seeing the response of the Japanese crowd even today to the Western video game products, one can predict how that went down. Despite the aggressive promotion, the Vectrex never managed to relate to the Japanese player, and the console tanked badly. But what about Europe? Europe was a different beast at the time, and if one could play his cards right, he could easily pull a coup d'etat to his rivals and take over the market for himself. After all, the more tech-savvy European consumers could also benefit from the latest peripherals for the Vectrex, such as the Vectrex Light Pen and the upcoming 3D Imager, one of the first 3D glasses peripherals of its kind. But the European market was a fractured region commercially at the time, a time before the unified European market, and it needed special and multi-level handling. On top of that, in Europe, the might was in the rising bedroom coder scene, and if you wanted to be successful, you had to place your product in the room of those aspiring young programmers that saw gaming as a gateway to a future in the industry. It didn't help also that the product was advertised mainly as a rival to Atari's, Mattel's and Coleco's consoles, a rivalry that meant nothing to the European customers, as none of them managed to break the impregnable wall of ZX-Spectrum, Commodore 64 and Co. In the end, the pressure from the video game crash back in the US and the complete failure of the Japanese campaign took its toll in the European invasion too, and right at the time that the Vectrex was starting to make a name for itself even as a niche product. Along with those problems, all plans for an upgraded color version of the console were scrapped, and by 1984 Milton Bradley shut down GCE and tried to get rid of all the stock, before Milton Bradley was sold itself to Hasbro a little later in the year. The Vectrex was a unique system, and indeed was maybe the first console to bring a little piece of the arcade experience at home. It was and remains the only vector graphics-based console ever to reach the consumer market. It was an elegant and beautiful system that lives on today through retro fans and a strong homebrew scene, and it's there to remind us that sometimes the road to hell is indeed full of good intentions.